Good evening, everybody. So tonight is my first cooking / recipe video, so welcome. Today we're going to be making white rice, poured over black beans, and homemade meatballs, turkey meatballs. I eat beef, I eat pork, I just prefer turkey. So I've already kind of set up everything and prepped everything that we're going to be needing. I'll be introducing the ingredients as I go. So I'm going to put my phone down so we can get started. Here is my turkey. We're going to start by seasoning it up. I'm going to wash my hands. All right. Don't mind the mess in the background. All right, so for my turkey meatballs, I like to season the meat first so I can kind of marinate just for a little bit before I throw it in the cook. But we'll start with the ingredients. I'll do a splash of vinegar, just a splash. We have cilantro, dried cilantro. We have dried parsley. Dried oregano. A dash of ginger. I like to use turmeric as well, but I don't have any today. So if you don't have it, it's okay. Also sprinkle a little bit of black pepper. I know I'm Latino and most Latinos use adobo. I don't. I prefer to use sea salt, only so I can manage our sodium intake. So this is just pink Himalayan salt. So I also put 2 eggs in here. 2 eggs. As well as, right, and it's all the way up there. My hand sometimes. Breadcrumbs. I just pour some over. I don't really have measurements. Maybe like a tablespoon of each ingredient. I like to use my hands just so I can mix it up pretty well. And you just know the consistency of the meat as you go along. I don't like it too mushy. I don't like it too dry. The breadcrumbs makes it a little dry. Also, some people like to use sazon, which is the orange ingredient, the Goya ingredient that a lot of people like to use. I use it sometimes, not so often. I've actually swapped it for the turmeric. Turmeric gives the meat that nice color anyway. I won't be using any today. Since these meatballs will be, we call it like sauteed, but I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. I'm gonna put a little bit more breadcrumbs. All right, it's about ready, right? So now I'm going to get a plate so I can start shaping the meatballs, and I'll just arrange them on the plate. just making sure it's nicely mixed. You don't want no clumps of breadcrumbs in one and not in the other, right? So now you'll just grab a, nice portion of the meat. I know they're flinging it everywhere, but you don't want to make them too big, and then the cooking time increases. You don't want to do that. So I'll just take a nice portion and roll it in my hands this way. All right, so we're back, and this is the finished product for the meatballs. It's quite a bit of meatballs. I probably won't be cooking all of them, only because it's only, it's only 4 of us at home. But any leftover meatballs, I'll just store in the refrigerator and maybe make them tomorrow as lunch, like a meatball sub or something like that. I'll post a video on that too. So now I am going to start off the rice, right? I'll just set this aside. I'm gonna start boiling the water for the white rice. So since there's only 4 of us, myself and the 2 children, I usually just make 3 cups of rice. I know, Latin measuring cup. So I'll do 3 cups of rice and 3 3/4 of water. 2 and 3/4. So to make the white rice, we're just gonna pour a little bit of oil. I use vegetable oil in the rice, maybe 2 tablespoons. I also put kosher salt in the rice. And remember, it's always dependent on, your taste. However much you want to put on it. I normally suggest don't put so much salt in the rice, but I also put some minced garlic in my white rice. So I put like a tablespoon of it. Here I have 2 tablespoons. The other half I'll use when I begin to cook the meatballs. So I'll put this on high heat in the stove, cover it up, let it boil. Now I'm going to prep my pot. So I normally cook my meatballs in a flat saucepan. Right? I like to always wash my pot before I get started. You just pull it out. I'll see it a little bit. Right? So after I wash it, I just turn it on high heat, let the water dry out, and proceed with the oil and garlic. So I'll just put this aside for a moment. And I am also making poured over black beans. My son requested it, so I'm gonna begin doing that as well. I know, I'm multitasking here. I'll rinse my pot. I'll bring over the camera once I've put everything on. I'll open the cans just so it can be easier to maneuver later. I use 2 cans of beans, 1 whole and the other I blend, just to make like a creamier substance. But you see, I poured 1 can of beans in the same can. I'll just fill it with water. turn on the water as well. So now I will start by this one. I am going to blend, right? So I have already put 1 can of beans with 1 can of water. I'll take a small teaspoon of minced garlic and put it in the beans. Again, dried oregano, parsley and basil, just a pinch, a little bit of garlic, ginger, a little bit of pinch of black pepper, and I also use 2 bouillon cubes. Well, I like these because they come in packets. I don't have to wait for it to dissolve. But I put in one bouillon cube now, and as I go on, I'll taste it and I'll have a feel if I need to use another whole one or maybe just half. All right, no salt since I've already used the bouillon cube, right? So now I'm gonna let it boil up a little bit. I use half a red or purple onion, however you guys call it. I'll put that in the beans, as well as 1/4 red bell pepper and 1/4 green bell pepper. I don't chop them up smaller, only so I'm able to remove them after. My kids don't like to eat them. So I also use 1 stick of celery. I'll just cut it in half, put it in there, as well as pumpkin. We call these auyama in Spanish, but a lot of people like to put potatoes in their beans. My mom and grandma showed me to use pumpkin instead. So I'll put these in now since they take a little bit of time to cook thoroughly. So I used maybe half a cup of pumpkin. And a little later this is cilantro, wide leaf cilantro, and regular cilantro. These I will be placing in the beans a little later. So now I'm going to go ahead and blend the second half of the beans, right? I also put a little bit of water just to get all that, the remaining beans out of there. Some people like to wash their beans out and not use. Yes, baby. You want juice? Alright, just give me 1 second. Alright, so here goes the beans. Just slot the blender. Blend. There we go. Power on. I don't like to pour the blended beans just like this. I like to put them through a strainer just to get all those little pieces out. So I'll just hold this over the top and pour. Yes, baby.
What is this?
These are beans. These are beans. You want something to drink? Okay.
Another seed.
Apple juice? Sorry. But your mother never stops. Here, apple juice. Go ahead. Alright, so you remember that I had the pan warming up for our meatballs. I poured in about a tablespoon of oil. Now I am going to pour some of the garlic in there, maybe a teaspoon. Cover it up, let the garlic cook just a tad bit. And I'm doing it all at the same time, right? So I'm gonna place the meatballs in. So here is what the meatballs look like. I will save these for the subs, like I mentioned earlier. This is done. Put it in the sink. Now I'm going to pour the blended beans over the ones that are ready. Let's see if I can. There we go. Yep, I need a stand, right? So I do this. Pour the beans over. So with the spoon, I'll just stir it up a bit so the blended beans can come through. Well, the water for the rice is now boiling, so I am going to be pouring the rice in there soon. So the excess bean, I just toss that. I know, I need a stand. I'll get one eventually, right? So, now that all of the beans have been, just give it a little stir. Give it a little stir. Now blend well. Put down my spoon. Covering the meatballs. Now I will cover the beans for a little bit. Give it about 10 minutes on medium to low heat. Your meatballs are also medium to low heat. You want them to cook. So these I'm going to set to the side and store them. So I'm going to be washing the rice, pouring it into the water. So right now we flipped over our meatballs, our cooked meatballs. Yes, baby. The beans are still cooking. Put them, lower the flame a little bit. The rice is in there. Just waiting for the water to dry out. Alright, so I gave the beans a stir. And I tasted them, and I think they're fine with just one bouillon cube. Before I said I might do a second one or maybe a half one, but I tasted it and it doesn't really require it. So now I'm gonna put the white cilantro and the regular cilantro in there. Just cover it up. I leave the lid a little bit off so it doesn't like overflow. The rice's water has dried out, so I'm going to, we call this picking up the rice. So we just like center it up this way. That way it doesn't create so much gong-gong. We call it gong-gong, some people call it pegao. So I'll just pile it up in the center, cover it up, and put the fire on low. This will take about 20 minutes to cook, and that's completely fine. So we're gonna check on our meatballs. They look doing pretty good. They are. Just put a little bit of water in them so they don't burn, obviously. Just a little bit of hot water. Loosen it up. Stir them up a bit. So soon we'll be adding the sauces and all that. So some people like to use tomato sauce. Some people like to use ragu. Sometimes I mix the two. So I'm also gonna use I used a quarter of red bell peppers, a quarter of green bell peppers, as well as half of a sliced onion. So once I begin to do the sauces for the meatballs, I will be putting those in them as well. In the sauce, right? I'm going to put 1 can of tomato sauce. Right. Fill that same can with water. Pour it on there. And I'll measure with the same can a little bit of ragu. Don't ask me why, but I like to do that. I like the tomato, garlic, onion. And pour it over. A little bit of halfway just to clean it up. Pour it on there. And give it a stir. Yeah, just give me 1 second. So you can just cook in the sauce. Yes, baby. Yeah, 1 second. Sorry for the background. She just needs her hands washed, and I'm gonna help her out with that in 1 second. So I'll just give it a little stir, let it cook up a bit. I'm gonna give it about another 5 minutes, and I'm gonna pour the onions and bell peppers. So I'll just cover it up for about 5 minutes, and I'll be back. Now this is the beans. Give it a little stir. As you can see, the pumpkin is nice and soft. You can cut it with your spoon. That means your beans are ready. I'll just shut it off and cover it up. There are times that I like to blend all of those big pieces, like the onion, the celery. Don't mind me, I like to clean up after. Sometimes I like to blend all of those items together and pour it back into the beans, but don't feel like doing all that today. So now we're just giving another 5 minutes. Do that. I'm gonna serve. So dinner is going to be served with lettuce, salad. Like I like the dough lettuce. I mix it up with some spinach and tomatoes, and just serve it with vinegar. I'm just pouring it all into a strainer so I can wash it all. Some people don't like to wash it. I do. I just take a handful, mix it up with the lettuce, and I'll put it back into my Ziploc so it can last a little longer, right? Put the lettuce right in the same bag as well. Take all the air out of it. Throw it in the fridge. Now I'm gonna wash these out. As well as the tomatoes. Huh? So now as you can see, I've washed the lettuce and the spinach. I'll now just throw some cherry tomatoes on there and call it a salad. I'm also going to serve it with some potato salad that I had left over from the other day. So I don't like to throw food away, so I will be serving it with this meal as well. So just checking on my flames, make sure it's not too high. So now, as you can see, the sauce is boiling a bit here. I'm going to pour all these items on the meatballs, give it a stir, cover it up another 5 minutes or so, and I'll show you the end results. Now the turkey meatballs are almost ready. I tasted the sauce and I felt like I needed a little bit more salt, so I'll just sprinkle a little bit of sea salt on them and a little bit of pepper, just so the sauce can have a little bit of flavor. I'll just give it a stir. Yep, I'm splashing it all over my stove, but I'll be cleaning that as soon as I'm done. So here we have what our meatballs look like. So now I will serve it and show the end result. And this is the end result. A little bit of lettuce, a little bit of potato salad. I will be posting a recipe for the potato salad, so stay tuned for that. And that's pretty much it. You can use whatever dressing you like, you prefer, and it's your meal.